Welcome back to The First with me, Jesse Kelly, in our live election night coverage. An election night that so far, looks like it's going, honestly, it's everything we wanted so far. Let's see what Sean and Jennifer have to say about that. Joining me now, my friend Sean Parnell, host of Battleground Live, and my friend Jennifer Galardi. She has become a wonderful voice in this movement, culture, health, and policy writer, and former communist herself. Sean, let's begin with you. What happened tonight to the Democrat coalition? I'm looking at 25% of black men gone. Latino men, they completely lost them. They just lost their coalition. What did they do wrong?
They didn't have a message. And I think the larger problem that Kamala Harris has, and by the way, there's still a long way to go in this election, and I am far from dooming. I'm not doing that, but it's all going to come down to Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, it looks like. However, Kamala Harris has a base problem. And what I mean by that is she was selected. She was not elected. She's never had to run in a primary for president in which she actually had to earn a single member of her primary's vote. And so now she finds herself in a situation where there are cracks in the primary, most prominently in Michigan, where you have Arab Americans and Muslim Americans in Michigan basically saying, I'm not going to vote for Kamala Harris. She has no message that really appeals to me. And they're probably going to go into Trump's column. You see the same thing with Black Americans. You see the same thing with Latino Americans. She just didn't have a message, but she never ran a primary campaign in the first place in which she had to earn a single voter. And I think you're seeing the bottom fall out here today.
Jennifer, you are, I'm sure, still friends or at least friendly with a couple dirty commies because they used to have to walk in that life. Are they angry? Do they bring up what Sean brought up, the fact that she was installed? Is that something that bothers them? Because obviously we're partisan, we're on the other side. From the outside looking in, I'm mortified by that. No, the people got no say whatsoever. To me, it looks awful. But is that something they ever bring up to you that bothers them?
No, the only thing that they bring up to me is abortion. You know, I woke up this morning, I was feeling a little doomy and gloomy. Sorry, Sean, I was feeling that way. And Jesse, you've kind of brought me up a little bit in the past couple hours, but I woke up and I'm particularly on like Instagram and Facebook. I still have a lot of my liberal friends and I'm like, I don't know. I think I mentioned put this out on Twitter in response to you, Jesse. I don't know if I can be they're morons. Like this is you cannot logically explain to them they have lost their ever loving minds and they have I don't know if it's Trump derangement syndrome. It is mostly single women. There's some married, some that don't have kids, but you know, there was one post on Facebook and a girl said, imagine you have the two candidates or each candidate sitting across from you with a cup of tea or a glass of wine. How does it feel in your body to be? I was like, I don't give a shit how it feels. I mean, it's like unbelievable that you can't make this up. I was like, and I think part of me is angry because I was a little, I don't ever know if I was that dumb, but I did tend to operate that way. And thank God I got my brain back and started to realize this is not speed dating. I'm not looking for a husband. No one's sitting across from me. I need the border closed. I need women to be protected. I need men to stop beating up on women in sports. I need women to stop being raped and murdered from illegal immigrants. It's like, but the only thing they think of is abortion. And it's not going to happen. It doesn't matter. It can't be overturned at this point at the federal level.
Sean, let me touch on that with you as a man, because I was brewing on this today. In fact, I talked about it on my radio show a little bit earlier. When it comes to women and men, it really seems incredibly cruel the way Democrats have operated, where they have purposely created this mental illness in a lot of women who are more vulnerable to social contagions. They just are. So they create a mental illness. They create this legion of mentally ill women, and then they just lie to them. So now there's mentally ill psychopaths. You created this mentally ill woman. You told them her life is in danger if she votes Republican. And they end up saying the dumbest things in the world to poor Jennifer, who wants to jump off a bridge. In the end, it's just cruel. It's abuse. It's like beating up on the special needs kid.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I mean, the Democrats, here's what I say about the Democrats. They are the party of lies and they are the party of hoaxes. And speaking to your initial question is like, hey, what's happening with the Democrat coalition? We talk about, one, Kamala Harris never ran a primary, right, Jesse? She never had to earn their votes. She didn't really have an actual message. And what's interesting about tonight, especially with voters all across the country, you talk about the top issues in this election, the economy, inflation, the border, but a close number 4 in some states was democracy. And I think when you hear the term democracy, TM, it's often a term that's overused by Democrats. All the while, I thought that, well, hey, this is just, democracy and Democrats talking about January 6th and all this crazy stuff. Well, come to find out that according to exit polls, and take exit polls the way that you want, but Trump is winning those voters by a 7-point margin in all the swing states. So it's actually Republicans who believe that Democrats are a greater threat to democracy than vice versa. And so that's kind of amazing to me, but it speaks to, again, you can't just lie to your voters and expect them to follow you. You've had your name on the ballot before, Jesse. Your job as a candidate is to draw a contrast, and not just that, but make the case to the voters about how their life will be better with you, a projected vision looking forward. And when it comes down to voters today, and again, we'll see how this plays out as the night goes on, but I think the voters are going to say to themselves when they're in that booth, okay, I remember what my life was like under Donald Trump. There was $1.80 gas. I could afford to put food on the table for my family. I got 2 kids that work at a grocery store. They have people that cannot pay for their groceries every single shift. That should not happen in America. At the same time, we're sending $100 billion to Ukraine. We have people struggling to buy food here. People are going to go into that booth, and I think especially with independents, and say life was easier under Trump. No, the guy's not a threat to democracy. All the Democrats have done is lie and gaslight me for the last couple of years. They shanked Joe Biden. They select Kamala Harris. No one actually voted for this woman. And life under Biden and Harris has been terrible, as evidenced by their 401k or their grocery bills or the cost that it takes to put food or fuel in their cars. So, again, we'll see how this plays out. But as of right now, it's not going good for Kamala Harris.
Jennifer,
Jesse,
you know what makes me smile?
What?
Go ahead, please. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to comment. I was in Lancaster the other week for a Kennedy kind of rally with Dr. Phil and Callie Means, and I was sitting in I wrote a piece about this. I was sitting in kind of the press area, and these people in the press, one guy was from NBC. There were just a couple. There weren't that many people. Where normally somebody like Dr. Phil would draw a big, like, kind of to-do in a small town. And there weren't that many press, but the ones that were there, they had no concern for the people in the audience. They didn't ask them, why are they there? Why are you attracted to Kennedy and Trump or Vance? Or, what Sean had said is the Democrat Party is built on lies, and the media is the arm for that. So they're not talking to people. So the people that only listen to mainstream media only get this one-sided image because they don't talk to the people. They don't talk to the small towns. They don't get their perspective. So they're only getting kind of what the MSNBC pushes out. And it's a very convoluted story. And I think with more shows like this, I mean, we saw Trump went on the Joe Rogan podcast, had a killer 3-hour session. Vance went on, and they saw, like, these are normal guys. I think that shift in the media is going to play a huge role moving forward away from these mainstream media outlets. And I think that may have turned the tide for Trump, meaning a lot of guys and a lot of women, if they listen to Vance on Joe Rogan's podcast, like his story about the kid with the Oreo, his kid like putting the Oreos, and he's like, I didn't eat those, Daddy, you did. And he goes, that's how Kamala Harris lies. Like a child, like with no remorse, no irony, no joking. He's like, I didn't eat those Oreos. You did, Daddy. I mean, that humor, that realness, those long sessions of chatting and seeing how somebody handles that. Trump was right. Kamala would have been on the floor in 20 seconds. Like, she would not have been able to hold a
It
conversation.
would have been a disaster.
Yeah.
It would have been a disaster. Sean, Jennifer, y'all go celebrate, put a smile on your face. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're gonna start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.